working. The whole journey within is to make sure that once you're there, you're completely mindful, body, soul, and mind being present to your work. And once you're
Yeah.
not there, you shift to the other place with your kids, with your spouse, with your passion, with
Right.
whatever that you're doing, right? And that shift and that switch happens when we are clear enough within.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man. He'll unpack wisdom and insights from a cross-section of top quality performers in business, media, sports, entertainment, and lifestyle to uncover key elements to help you live your best audacious life ever. So without further ado, here is the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations, folks. It's Audley Stevenson back for another edition of the most audacious podcast the internet has to offer. You've got it locked to the Audacious Living Podcast, and I appreciate you for being here as we continue our ongoing goal of helping our listeners live their best audacious lives ever. As always, I encourage you to check us out on our social media channels. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the handle The Audacious Pod, or if you're watching on our YouTube channel, then all you know is that we got that bell right in the corner there. You tap that, and ding, 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 you're connected to all great things audacious related. Now, after any sort of hardship or trauma, that pathway to getting back to that better place is never an easy one, but it's a journey that we all must take nonetheless. Sunitha Sandeep is a transformational coach and a TEDx speaker who works with high-achieving individuals to get them back to the place where they belong while working through whatever form of trauma is holding them back. And we know the impact that trauma, especially that deep-seated trauma, can have on our lives. It can keep us grounded. It can hold us, make us fearful. It can make us think that we're not worthy or able to accomplish whatever it is we're after. And Sunitha helps her clients understand and know that none of this is true. So I'm going to turn it over to her. Get ready for an enlightening conversation right up next here on the Audacious Living Podcast. Thank you for joining me and taking the time to hang out on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Orly, for inviting me here. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what this talk is going to bring today.
It's always good stuff here, and I mean, if we sort of go back to the principle of this podcast it's about demonstrating boldness and encouraging people to to live that audacious life that we talk about here and often. And so with your work with high achievers and women and helping to elevate them both personally and professionally, I think it really makes sense for us to have this kind of chat, and maybe as a starting point, I can get you to sort of talk about the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes. So what I do is I'm a transformational coach, and I usually coach women, high achieving and high functioning women professionals who are struggling with some kind of internal struggles. May it be anxiety, may it be burnout, may it be severe stress that's going on, maybe something that they feel stuck or fear that's they're operating under.
Mm-hmm.
And I take them from that place to having higher professional success, but with deeper inner fulfillment, personal fulfillment as well. So it's not exactly like a balance, but it's a kind of harmony that they go together with their professional and personal life, success in both places. That's what I do.
And I really like your point about the balance and harmony, right? Because it acknowledges that there are two sides of us, right?
Of course.
Professional side and we can't separate the two, and sometimes the balance is off, right? Sometimes one demands more attention. Maybe there's something going on in your professional life that takes all of your attention, so when you get home you're not feeling that your energy's high. So it's really about what I'm hearing is sort of striking that balance between the two. But that's still a difficult exercise, Sunitha. Like, how do you get that perfect mark? Because I realize it's not going to be the same for everyone.
Yeah. So yeah. So again, when I talk about this, when I take my women through this journey, it's let's distinguish what circumstances versus what experiences, right?
Okay.
Circumstances is like sometimes the circumstances that we are in, the situation, the overloading of lot of work that we do in a given amount of time.
Okay.
But there's also the other side of it, which is our own experience to what circumstances are, to our own overwhelming experience sometime to the overload that is happening. For example, I hit my toe to a couch
Okay.
and I'll be like, oh my God, it pains. Oh yeah, it pains. And I can forget about it. Or I can build a story. Oh my God, today is not going well. Something is wrong with it. Oh my God, why did I do this? I must be like crazy. I should be more careful in life. This, you see, we can keep on adding stories, building over it and over it. Then that can cause so much of the overwhelm and the stress. And usually, what I observe is
Hmm.
the action, the doing part is not so tough. It's we can get things done. But then what we carry from one part of our life to the other part of the life is the problem where it leaks. Your experiences at work with the stress that you're taking, or you're not having a great time with the project that you're working on, or you're failing in your projects, or your peers and managers are not or up to your expectations. We start
Mm.
taking those into our personal life, and that's
Right.
where the problem is, right?
Mm.
We don't put like, it's not like a switch
Right.
that
Right.
you can
Right.
just turn it off, right? It
Right.
starts leaking. The whole journey within is to make sure that once you're there, you're completely mindful, body, soul, and mind being present to your work. And once you're
Yeah.
not there, you shift to the other place with your kids, with your spouse, with your passion, with
Right.
whatever that you're doing, right? And that shift and that switch happens when we are clear enough within.
Wow.
It's the inside out transformation.
Yeah, what I'm thinking, how big of a job that is when we talk about staying present. Really, staying present. So I'm at home now with my children, my family. I'm staying present. Yeah, my cell phone's ringing over there, or there's an email I got to answer, but I'm here. And that draw or pull, it can
Yeah.
be really really hard.
It is really hard. It is really hard. And that's why there is a bigger transformation that we go through internally. And most of the times, oddly, that I have observed with women is usually women come to me. Just yesterday, I was with a woman who
Mhm.
just said, I just don't have time. I really don't have time. Can't even get like an hour in a day.
Wow.
And then when we dug deep inside and then saying like, why is it? And so on, can you not have answered that email? Can you not have answered? Can it wait? Yes, it can actually wait. But then what happens is we create an urgency within that if not me, the world is going to fall. And I think this is some kind of an archetypal patterns, a personality patterns that we have developed over the course of many years. May it be because of the cultural conditioning that we are in, or the family, the way that we were brought up, or maybe the responsibilities that we held growing up. It can, like, a lot of these things can contribute to the personality trait, or being a high achiever, which is my clientele, who always want to keep achieving, and they have built an identity over just achieving. So if they're not answering that call and
Right.
email, right, they just feel that they're losing their identity. And busyness is again an identity. We somehow associate being busy with being successful. Like, you just meet people, oh
Right.
man, I'm just really busy today. It's
Right.
like really busy. And we feel that it is good, right? And all of these slowly start adding to our identity. And that's where the work needs to happen.
And then so where I see where it can get dangerous as you talk about identity, we have all these things, but those things don't make up who we are. So we're at risk of not really knowing the true us. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it is 100% fair to say, because we only have an identity towards maybe a leader at work, or maybe like an entrepreneur or so. But then there is another identity also that we are carrying at home, like as a parent, and not just as a parent who's providing food, shelter, and money and security, but
Right.
as a parent who also needs to nurture, who also needs to be there when they're talking something. And most of the times, kids, when they talk to us, it's not out of like, a need out of all of these shelter, food, or anything like that. It's a need from an emotional state of being, right? And what that calls is completely different. Like, we need to be in
Right.
a completely different state of being within to be able to answer. Is it
Right.
easy? It's definitely not easy.
No.
It's a journey for all of us, but at least let the journey begin in the right direction
Yeah.
rather than going away from it. It's a
Yes.
it's a learning every day for all of us, right? That's what this whole journey is. It's letting go of all kinds of these identities and being free within, so that we
Yeah.
are free enough to take on any identity that is needed in the moment.
I love your usage of the word journey.
Yeah.
What you're clearly doing is indicating that this is a path that we're on. We're on this journey. So we're so because sometimes we get in a rut or we get stuck in a moment and we're thinking, oh my gosh, it's all. But that's
It's not working.
right. It's oh my gosh, it's over. I'm done. It's but if we recognize, and that's why I'm saying I like the word journey, because if we frame that in our minds and recognize, that this step is part of this journey and there's
Yeah.
still more ahead. That's the kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
is it would you agree?
Exactly. That's exactly. So it's definitely not like an all or nothing approach, right? The
Right,
way
right.
we approach this is, okay, if it happens, it happens. Otherwise, nothing is working. Um, it gets good, it gets better, the more it gets better. That's all it is. It keeps
Yeah,
getting better, the
I get it.
more you're trying to be better. That's all it is. So it's a journey, and I don't think this journey ever ends, oddly. Just because our human conditioning is based on so many things that is going on, there is always a state of expansion, a state of
Yes.
growth, a state of developing ourselves more in our human realm. And you can do that once you hit your spiritual realm.
Right.
Once you hit that place, from that place, it's less of an anxiety, but more of a, oh yeah, I messed up today. This is why I messed up today.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a learning opportunity for me. I'll
Yes.
learn the next time I'm going to do, rather than, oh my God, I messed up today. I am horrible. I'm going
That's the
with that
story.
shame and guilt,
Yeah.
right? That is an all or nothing approach. But then with a little bit more inner work, you'll feel like, yeah, I messed up. Yeah, I messed up. Okay, let's see what today's got to bring. You see, that's the attitude shift, perspective shift.
The stories, right? And you're talking about, like, you're talking about the stories that are developed in our heads, and when we create those stories, the damage and harm that it does to ourselves. And so I think it's really important that you highlight that. And I like the phrase. I want you to repeat that phrase again. It only keeps getting better.
The better it gets.
So it only
It
keeps
keeps
getting better.
getting better, the better it gets. That's
Oh, I
all.
love that. I love it because there's so much truth to that.
Yeah.
And as long as we're not sort of getting stuck and bogged down in what's
Yeah.
happened in that moment, because
Yes.
you also touched on earlier where something happens, the learning opportunity, the learning moment, if you will, and how
Yeah.
that can help. Sometimes a setback is a setup for something else. We just can't
Yes.
see it in the moment. And so
Exactly.
I'm hearing that loud and clear, as we continue on, and I'll use the word journey.
Journey. Yes. It's a journey. It's a never-ending journey. Even more.
Absolutely, absolutely. You also spend some time in sort of the field of trauma and helping individuals navigate that within the scope of what's going on with them. Before we touch on trauma, and really basic, you referenced the term high achievers. I wonder if you could just give a really quick definition for our audience so we understand the type of individuals that we're talking about.
Yeah, high achievers, again, it so happens that they are the leaders. They're really doing well in their outside world. They're really doing well in their professional life. It just so
Yeah.
happens that's just a symptom. But typically, when I talk about high achievers, I talk about their internal state of being. Somebody who defines themselves as being perfectionist, somebody who defines as like a people pleaser, somebody who is just an overachiever and who derive their fulfillment and happiness by keep on achieving things. So that it looks like
Right.
they're in a hamster wheel of chasing success. And as somebody who's like a real high functioner, like sometimes women are super multitaskers, and somebody who needs to have that control, right? I want things this way. and there's expectations of everybody around them to hit that mark, and not only with people around them, even within them they have this extreme high expectations, and sometimes they are even addicted to success. They don't see anything else going on except that,
Right.
like the numbers that they need to chase. And Usually this happens for like 95% of the at least high achievers that I have met,
Hmm.
is the upbringing in their life has been that whenever they achieved a lot, that is when they started getting a lot of attention and love from people. And
Mm,
somehow the subconscious mind has learned
right.
that achieving and having success and hitting that milestone is the
Equals love.
only way that they can recognize, they feel significant, they feel worthful in their life.
Mm,
And because of that, it's very difficult to let go of that identity.
yeah, yeah.
And those are the high achieving internal high achievers. And as a symptom, they appear to be doing really well. They're like
Right.
really aggressive people, very masculine kind of
Yep, yep,
energy, getting go get things,
yep.
doing execution, and so on.
Right, right. But in the end, really, these individuals aren't happy.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. And one of my clients defined this beautifully. She said, everything looks like a success on paper, but within it's a completely different life. It's lonely there. It's it's a feeling of continuously need to catch up. Otherwise,
Yes.
I feel completely insignificant. But then when I look at my life, I'm not enjoying any parts of my life. And when I look at the relationship I have with my kids, I'm not present. I don't
Right.
have an intimate relationship with my spouse. And I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. And this is usually what happens, because the the personality traits that have helped them to reach a position that they are in, usually till 35 or 40, is not going to help them for the rest of their lives. And that's where the shift needs to happen.
Right, right, right.
Um,
Or risk burnout. Or
or risk burnout. Yeah, burnout is not just like an exhaustion or a just feeling tired. It could impact a lot of well-being within also.
what I was sort of thinking about was the idea, and that I don't know, is it like success addictive, like because you're always chasing it, and you never, it's like almost like you don't get enough. Is that
You don't get enough. Yeah, you just don't get enough, and there is always something to chase. And if you're
mm,
not chasing, it just feels like life is meaningless. Like, what do I do? Like, can you just sit? Can you just
right,
sit and do nothing? No, if I just do nothing, it's like wasting time. I need to be doing something. I need to be
right.
accomplishing something.
That's right. And so therefore you're always on the go, and not, and again, we talk about the happiness, not finding that happiness that they're after,
Yes, yes.
which is where the real harm
Because,
is.
yeah, because if you want to define what happiness is,
Uh-huh.
usually people come up with like, oh, I just want this much bank balance, or this is what I want, or this is how I want. But if you dig a little bit deeper into everyone's state of mind, and then ask them to define the moments that were the happiest in their life, is less about what was happening as a circumstance, but more about how present they were and how much they were in the flow and enjoying and being fully present, mind, body, and soul.
Right.
Literally, they were intimate with their experience, whatever experience. And some people have had this in the flow, extreme intimacy with the experience, um, in something that was happening really great in their life, or in something like a near death experience as well. Because even sometimes these near death experiences can
Yes.
change the way,
Yes.
right? Because they were completely present in the moment. And that
Right.
is the experience literally everybody is looking for, everybody is seeking for. I just
Mm,
want to experience this moment raw.
yes.
And that is what happiness is. In fact, that is how we humans are made,
Right.
to
Right.
experience in the moment.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
and That is what a lot of people are missing. And it's really difficult to get that. It's,
Yeah.
of course, it takes certain work on ourselves to be
Oh
there.
wow. Well, and
But
Well, I was going to say that let's talk about the work that's needed to be done. Like, so I think we've done a good job of sort of identifying and zeroing in. So I thank you, Sunitha, for helping frame that. But the next step always is, okay, we know what the problem is. How do you fix it?
Yeah, how do you fix it? So um, it's more about kind of a realization that naturally we all are born happy. Naturally, we all
Yeah.
are born passionate, right? We have experienced this growing up as kids, and so what happens is layers of stuff gets built over us at the mental level, at our emotional level, at our somatic level. So the whole journey for us is just to realize that and remove that, realize that and melt that, realize that and release that. That's all it is.
Right.
And when this happens at the mental level, we completely understand about these mindset practices currently. Like if this is the perspective, use this perspective. That is just like a very very high level surface layer mindset, just on the mental thoughts, mental belief structures, and so on.
Right.
The where I focus a lot is beyond mindset. So most of the people who come to me have gone through mindset training, have gone through life coaching training, and they have done,
Mm.
but then still it's like it's just become a more doing. Oh my God, this perspective, I need to hold on to this perspective. And yesterday there was a woman who just came and then said, everybody tells me to practice gratitude, but I don't feel grateful. I don't feel grateful.
Right.
And I honor her for being so
Yes.
open about it
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
we have made that gratitude into such a big practice. We are forcing ourselves to be
Yes.
grateful even when it doesn't call us to be grateful. You
Right.
see?
Right.
And there's an inner intelligence within us. It knows whether we have to be grateful or not to be grateful in certain situations and stand up for ourselves and not accept what it needs to. So that's why at certain point we need to go a little bit beyond mindset practices.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then on the emotional side, um, what are we trying to run away from? What
Mm.
emotions you don't want to feel?
That's right.
Why do you need to run away from this? Oh my God, I have a fear. Why do you want to keep chasing?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, because I have a fear of being worthless. Go ahead, go ahead.
And I was going to say, Sunitha, because the whole idea, we go back to the forcing of the gratitude. If you're forcing yourself to be, to have gratitude, or you're forcing
That's
yourself to be positive, or be happy, you are running from something. There's something that you're not
exactly.
facing.
There you go. You got it. Exactly. Why do you need to be? You're naturally positive. You don't have
Mm.
to do anything. And
Right.
then you're naturally real. Like,
Right.
beyond negative and positivity, there is reality. You're naturally reality. Reality doesn't care. It's like, oh, this is positive, this is negative. Reality is practicality. That's all it is. So, as
Mm.
you said, if you want to be thinking positive all the time, then there is a force of resisting something that is going on negative in your life. But
Yeah.
then with these mindset practices, and then there's also a term called as toxic positivity.
Mm.
What we are trying to do is we are forcing our attention to look only on the positive, but then these negative aspects are still sitting there.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
minute you let go and then try to relax, oh, it's becoming too much, because forcing yourself to look at something positive when things are negative requires a lot of energy. And then you get into exhaustion. And then it's like, oh my God, I can't. And then the minute you say you can't and you kind of relax, you get into the negative thought because that is what is driving you internally. So the next step is to just go a little bit deeper into our emotional layer and what you're running away from. What feelings are you running away from? Is there
Mm.
anger that is sitting in there? Is there sadness? Is there grief? Is there shame? Is there guilt? Because at that level, we all are the same. We all are running away from these kind of experiences because experiencing them emotionally is not easy for anybody. And that's where the work is. That's
Right.
where the work is. So
Wow.
I talk about this line in my TEDx talk, which I
Mhm.
say, rather than trying to feel better, become better at feeling.
Ah,
Become better at feeling the
I love
complete
it.
human spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Give the same importance to anger as you give importance to happiness, sadness, joy. Everything is on the same spectrum. All you need to do is let it go. As a tunnel, it comes, it completes its cycle, and
Right.
then it moves. Right.
Right.
So that's the second level of emotional work that needs to happen. And the final level, the third
Mhm.
level is the
Mhm.
somatic level. this becomes extremely important for somebody who has gone through any kind of deep conditioning, deep kind of trauma. And then trauma, again, is a very broad word. It doesn't
Yes.
mean like the
Yes.
real big traumatic events. It
Yep.
could even mean emotional neglect as a child.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Parents not taking care, or not, nobody being there when the child needed, or even as a young adult, if you've gone through certain, like, spousal abuse, or anything like that, or even sometimes work trauma, like,
Yes.
you
Yes.
were trying to do something, and then the people above you kind of snubbed you, and these all are like trauma sitting within us. What happens is, although we do a lot of work on our mind and our emotional body, there are deeper hidden things sitting in our body from a somatic level. They have to be released, and these have to be done in a very, very safe way, because till we can trick our mind, we can trick our heart to feel nice and grateful, or trick our mind to think positive, but we cannot trick our bodies.
Right.
And when things are stored in our body, we have to release from the body in a very safe way. And then that's why a little bit of more somatic healing. And I do a lot of trauma healing and somatic healing for people. And once you can get into that level of healing, the emotional and mental easily regulate themselves. There's not much work needed if you can hit that somatic level of healing. So oddly, what we have to do is we have to do it at all the levels. And sometimes when people are prepared, they can go deeper, even into the energetic levels and to the level of our consciousness, which is the deep spiritual practices also.
Mm,
But I think for most humans, these three levels are going to fetch a lot of, like, being in the flow, hitting our peak potential,
yes.
just enjoying life in the moment. It's going to create all of these changes for them.
And do people have to go through all three levels, or is there can you bypass one, or do you have to experience them all to get to that place where you need to be?
It gets better the better it gets. That's all it is. So even at the
I
mindset
love it.
level, you will see much changes. You will see it's like, oh my God, why am I thinking that way? Maybe there's another perspective. At the emotional level, big changes start to happen. Because now what you're driven by is not the fear of being worthless. It's now
Right.
the fear of inspiration that's going to run your life. It's not the fear of worthless, but the desire of inspiration that's going to run your life now on. And at the somatic level,
Mhm.
there's no fear of losing your identity, let's say, as a high achiever. I
Right.
don't fear at all of losing
Right.
it. And now your body starts feeling safe. The
Right.
minute your body starts feeling safe, your mind feels safe, your heart feels safe. And what happens when all of three are synergetically connected,
Uh-huh.
what happens is a deeper intelligence begins to flow.
Right.
And usually when some of the leaders that we have met in our lives, it feels like they're extremely calm, and it just
Mm,
feels like they're so creative.
mhm.
Words are just flowing, and they're completely safe being in a place of uncertainty. They can
Yes.
take risks, right? And how do all of these things happen for them? They have the same energy that's running in you, that's running in me.
Yes, they do.
It's just that they have cleared enough in their mind, emotions, and in their body, so that
Yes.
there is more space for the inner energy and innate wisdom to start flowing through us, which is very practical, which is very in the moment, which is very ordinary. But that's where creative potential is. That's where
I love it.
flow is.
I
That's
love
where
it.
peak potential is.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I just, I, listen, I think, and that's a springboard, a starting point to all sorts of great things after that. And
Yeah.
when you talk about leaders and how they appear and where they're at in terms of their demeanor and calmness and creativity, that really that just speaks to the work. And sometimes I wish we can see the back that's gone on that brings people
Yeah.
to where they are, because
Yeah.
there is a significant amount that's done. We see the
Yes.
finished product, right? We don't see the
We see
messy.
the finished
Right.
product,
Yeah.
and we desire that I want to be that way. But
That's
then
right.
that there is a journey.
That's right. There's some messy moments, right? But we don't necessarily see that, and we just see the finished product. And but I do think
Yeah.
when we can sort of shift away from what we see and take the time to understand. So again, understand the journey that you talked about. I oftentimes use an analogy of life being a series of hills and valleys, right? So at the top of the hill where everything's are great, we can celebrate and we're happy. We feel our most creative, most energetic, our most positive. But those valleys do come sometimes, and we dip down, and things don't feel good, and they're kind of sucky, and they don't feel good, and sometimes they hurt us or cause us pain. But to recognize the journey is the journey. So yes, we're in the valley, but we don't have to stay there. And
we don't have to stay there.
And the goal is to get out of that valley as quickly as you can, so you can be back on the top of the hill, so you can celebrate.
Yes. Yeah. And it'll keep going. It'll keep going. You celebrate something, then again that you're going to fall. But then the fall is the raise of your celebration, right? Like it begins the beginning of your uphill. The fall is the starting point.
Right.
So
Right. This is just challenging in the moment, right? I'll admit it's challenging in the moment.
It is challenging. It is really challenging. And I think sometimes when there is physical involved, like pain, there is illnesses, sickness, grief, it is really challenging. It is. And I think we all, like as humans, acknowledge that it is really very challenging.
Yes.
And this is something that we all have to go through, and still trying to be there. And then see what practically we need to do. And again, it's a shift, because now what happens is when we are free within, a lot of these other stories and belief structures are not playing.
Right.
Like if something happens, it's like, oh, this has happened, or I'm not good, or something is wrong, or I'm unlucky, or I'm not blessed. God is not treating me well, or all of these stories. If you put and then hold on to it, that's when the suffering happens. But the pain comes and goes. That we don't have to suffer.
Don't have to suffer. Awesome. I want to bring it full circle back to the podcast here, because we spend so much time, as I said off the top, talking about the importance of living that bold, audacious life. And when I define audacity, it's that taking that first step. Sometimes think it's the person's the loudest in the room or gets the most attention. That's not exactly what the definition is. It's more around you that inner boldness that you have inside, taking that first step into the unknown. And there's an important and that part into the unknown, I think, is an important part of this, because regardless of what's on the other side, you're still having the courage and the boldness to move forward. And when you touched on fear a moment ago, that sometimes is one of the biggest inhibitors and blockages from people taking that step, because of fear that they don't meet up. The other things, a fear, maybe they're carrying someone else's fears that they're holding on to, or maybe you talked about the stories. Maybe the fears are based on these stories that we developed, right? And so it's about taking that first step, and that's really what I wanted to make that point to you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Audley. Yeah, beautiful.
Yes, Sunitha, this has just been such a wonderful chat. I so appreciated you taking the time like this and really sharing and really helping us understand what high achievers go through, because again, we see the finished product, right? We don't see the messy moments. And so it's important to provide that context, and I'm really glad that you did. For listeners that want to learn more about you or catch up with your work, where can we send them?
Yes, my website has all the details. It's www.sunithasandeep.com. I have a free masterclass there for somebody who's interested in my program. I have a signature program called as the Awake, AWAKE, and then I take them through the mental, emotional, somatic, energetic, and the level of consciousness. So all 5 shifts is what I take my people through. And then there is also an ebook that I have that talks a little bit more about my journey, and also my TEDx talk is there. The link is there if somebody's interested. And if somebody feels connected to work with me, I usually work with women high achievers, high professionals, usually 35 to 40 plus in that age range. If they feel called, and there is also a link there to book a call with me and then explore if we are a fit for each other.
So curious, Sunitha, how did you land on the group that you landed on? What made you feel like this is where my
It's my
calling was.
own, yeah, it's my own journey, oddly. I went through a trauma myself, and I speak about this in my TEDx talk. It's called How Trauma Can Lead to Positive Change.
Mm,
So I use trauma as a catalyst for my own growth. And that is exactly what I teach people. Like, we don't have to run away from our trauma. We don't have to run away from our struggles and internal struggles and sufferings. In fact, there is a hidden potential in all of these struggles, and there's a reason why this is happening to us. And let's tap into the potential and use them as a catalyst to awaken our truth within. and
gotcha.
and that's the journey that I led myself into. And I've been trained a lot on the spiritual side with my Buddhist, Zen, and Advaita teachers, and I'm
Mhm.
also a positive psychology practitioner and a trauma support specialist on the Western methodologies.
Nice.
So I've taken both of these concepts
Yep.
to get into the practical living in a contemporary lifestyle of
Gotcha.
especially a woman, being a professional, being a parent, being a partner, being
Yes.
chasing her passion and
Yes.
purpose.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so yeah, that's
Amazing.
my own journey. And having
Love it.
worked with a lot of other women, I do feel that, I think it's needed for a transformational change currently. And it
Yep.
doesn't have to be the typical do 10 things to succeed versus redefining what success is for each one of us and being comfortable with that.
Nice.
And I want to just give this one liner you mentioned about the unknown.
Yep.
What I want to leave the audience is, you are actually not afraid of the unknown. You're only afraid of what you think you know about the unknown.
I love
That's
it.
all it is.
I
And
love
I
it.
wanted to give that line to the audience.
Thank you for sharing it. I think it's very fitting, and certainly it's insightful, and make people think a little bit more about what they think about what they think about.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. Congratulations on taking trauma and turning it into something positive, not only just for yourself, but the manner in which you're able to positive impact others, which I think is the most beautiful part of the entire story. Absolutely, I honor those that get through trauma and manage it, but what they do after is what I absolutely love, and it's impacting others. And that's really the best way, the best audacious life we can. So thank you, and
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you so much, Audley. Beautiful. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate the work you're doing and the message that you're giving to people. And it's a privilege for me to be here and talking to you today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Sunitha. Take care.
Thank you.
Back we are here on the podcast, and thanks and appreciation goes out to Sunitha for being here, sharing your insights, and really enlightening us on the power of looking on the bright side and acknowledging all the great things that come our way, because there's lots of them. I really appreciated so much of what Sunitha had to say, but if there's one thing that I take from my chat, it would have to be this. Life is a journey filled with countless ups and downs, and it's only natural to feel overwhelmed during the tough times. However, it's important to remember that life has a way of improving as we navigate through its challenges. In fact, there's a beautiful phenomenon known as a ripple effect, in which positive changes in one area of our lives have a profound impact on other aspects, leading to an overall improvement in our well-being. Let's explore further how life gets better the better it gets. When we choose to focus on gratitude, optimism, and self-belief, we create a fertile ground for positivity to flourish. A positive mindset not only helps us navigate challenges more effectively, but also attracts more positive experiences and opportunities in our lives. As we celebrate small victories and acknowledge the progress we've made, we set ourselves up for a cycle of continuous improvement. When we make a conscious effort to improve one aspect of our lives, it often spills over into other areas. For example, adopting a regular exercise routine not only improves our physical health, but it also boosts our energy levels, enhances our mood, and increases our productivity. Similarly, practicing mindfulness or meditation not only promotes mental well-being, but also improves our focus, clarity, leading to better decision-making and overall life satisfaction. By building healthy habits, we create a positive ripple effect that cascades into various aspects of our lives. Our relationships play a vital role in our overall well-being. As we strive to improve our connection connections with others, we create that ripple effect that enhances our social support network, strengthens our emotional resilience, and fosters a sense of belonging. By investing time and effort into nurturing our relationships, we unlock a cycle of positive interactions that enrich our lives in countless ways. When we embark on a journey of personal growth and improvement, we become more attuned to the opportunities that align with our aspirations. As we develop new skills, expand our knowledge, and broaden our horizons, we open ourselves up to a wider range of possibilities. By embracing these opportunities and stepping out of our comfort zones, we set a motion of chain of events that can lead to even greater personal and professional achievements. The more we grow and evolve, the more opportunities we attract, creating a self-enforcing cycle of success. Life truly gets better the better it gets. Remember, even during the darkest moments, there's always a glimmer of hope and the potential for positive change. Embrace the journey, celebrate your progress, and watch life unfold into a beautiful tapestry of joy, fulfillment, and audacious possibilities. We've sadly reached the end of another episode of the Audacious Living Podcast. And as always, I send my thanks and appreciation to our amazing listeners and all those lovers of Audacious who continue to support this podcast. I thank you for your tremendous ongoing support. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audacious Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.